Industrial oil. We use it every day. It is the lubricant used by our engines and industrial machinery. We consume millions of liters a year, and we import all of it. It's a resource that our country lacks, and that once used becomes a toxic product that needs treatment. Its problem is that it's one of the most polluting commercial residues in the world. By reducing the friction in the engine, the oil is filled with particles of sulfur, phosphorus, lead, and other residual components from the engine fuel and metal debris of the engine that ends up turning into heavy metals. Look, when we put it to our engines, it has a golden and transparent color, and after it is used, it is totally opaque. That is because the residues that the oil has accumulated when fulfilling its lubricating function stay in the oil.
Used oils or hydrocarbon waste is not good for our environment. To human life, it can cause quite some serious diseases like cancer and other stuff. On our environment, used oil on its own, when it finds itself into our waters, water bodies, and most of the organisms in that water are going to die. Again, because of the elements that we find in used oils, in the sense that when those elements enter the environment, they do not easily die off. They end up following the food chain. Say somebody drinks water with, or an animal drinks water with used oil. Then in the long run, somebody eats the animal, and that the oil finds itself along the food chain.
Since it is a synthetic product, if it is burned, it generates very toxic gas emissions due to the presence of heavy metals. In the soil, it affects its fertility, altering its biological and chemical activity. It is necessary to avoid that used oil ending up poisoning our environment. If we do not act against this, sooner or later, it will eventually affect our health. It is necessary to raise awareness of the problem so the agents involved, mechanics, understand that oil spills harm us all, while we seek and provide solutions for their collection, management, and treatment.
The point is that used oil to the ground is what we don't want. And therefore, that's the reason why the Solar Trust has come up to put up these bulk containment storage tanks, that it makes it easier for all oil to be collected. Why we don't want used oil to the ground is simply because oil is a contaminant, and what's worse about it is that it destroys all living organisms, whether it be fauna, flora, or even ourselves as human beings at the end of the day. It does have an impact. So for that reason, we know that we need oil to survive, and that's the reason why we use it. But we also need to collect the used oil to make sure that all of it is collected at the end of the day. Basically what we do here is that we invite everybody to bring their used oil and come and deliver it in this tank.
The overall objective of Solar Trust is to monitor, coordinate, and increase the efficiency of all oil recovery infrastructure according to the recommendations of the Department of Waste Management. The work of Solar Trust is not only focused on the collection, but also on the remediation of oil spills. Small workshops, factories, transport companies, and the dissemination of environmental education among the population in general, in order to increase the amount of used oil collected, recycled, and revalued.
UNDP has funded us, and even Total has given us used oil tanks. The idea of the trust is that we distribute these tanks as much as possible around the country.
So far, there are deposits installed or in the process of being installed in the most populated and industrialized areas of the country. Gaborone and its metropolitan area have the largest number of tanks, followed by Francistown and the area of Phalape, Serowe, Mahalape, and Selebe Phikwe. These deposits are accessible by commercial users of used oils that can download their stock in them. and thus facilitate their collection and transport to recovery and recycling plants. The landfill deposit process is simple and accessible, and there are also personnel in the collection points that can help users and instruct them. It is also necessary to develop measures to mitigate the effects of uncontrolled spills.
We are still very, very challenged. As I'm saying, we see substantial amount of waste being generated by this country. I think this is because of rapid industrial development, population growth. Those are the two main triggers why we are generating a lot of waste. And we see a waste that is complex in nature.
As much as most people don't know, they do know that oil is not friendly to the environment. They do know that oil doesn't decompose. They know the effects. They might know the detailed effects, but they know that oil is not good. If you dispose it improperly. Yeah, pretty much don't spill oil. Don't spill oil onto the floor. That's just it's a basic common knowledge.
We have the opportunity to adopt measures of excellence that put us at the forefront in terms of management of this type of waste, and we must do so to guarantee future generations a friendly and sustainable environment.